We call our land and facilities meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Eric Bezos.
Here.
Mr. Ray Bernard. Ms. Valerie Bourgeois. Here. Mr. Richard Boutery.
Here.
Mr. Henry LaPont. Mr. Randy Schwess.
Here.
Ms. Cheryl Thomas.
I have a, if you don't mind, I have a comment on Mr. Bernard's condition. I did talk to him yesterday, and he's slowly showing improvement. Still waiting for a lot of test results. As of now, they're not 100% sure as to what causes fainting spell, but got several other test results to come in before they really know what's going on. And Mr. Lafourche apologized for his absence. Another poor excuse, he's in Phoenix. Last time he was in Italy. I mean, he can come up with better excuses than that.
Thank you, Mr. Adams, for the update. All right, let's go to number 2. Road, Flores, Positary. We have Mr. Andy Positary here. A, to receive report on the new Thibodeau Middle School project. Mr. Andy Positary.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So the status at Thibodeau Middle School, the current contract sum is $28,600,773. Of that amount, the contractor has completed just under 60%, so work is progressing pretty well, especially now that we have some dry weather. Contract time, about 42% of the contract time has elapsed. A lot of the same activity that I mentioned last month is happening again this month. Lots of concrete block going up, door frames going in, a lot of mechanical, electrical, plumbing rough-ends going in. If you've ridden by there, the building is no longer purple, it's now yellow. That's a waterproofing product that's on the outside of the gyp board. It's no reflection on school colors or anything from purple to gold, it just happened to be that way. A lot of exterior windows going in now too, so you know, we're kind of getting into that point where our reports may start to sound redundant in the next couple of months, just because there's a lot of that work going in. But other than that, let's see. Additional roofing was installed since last time we met, and the front concrete drive was poured too since last time. So, kind of a short report, but if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them. Yes,
did I hear you say, since it's been dry, you're not requesting any rain days?
Well, let's wait to get through item B.
I had to ask that to Mr. LaFont.
Let's get through item B first.
Henry would have been here today. Can you, is it possible to give us a completion percentage? How much of the construction for the school has been completed?
Yep, we usually base that on the amount of payments that have been paid out. So that's roughly 60%. Slightly under 60%, but that's just one metric that we use to gauge that. That includes some additional material that they may purchase ahead of time that they get reimbursed for, but it's roughly 60%. They're still on track to finish the new construction for June of this coming summer. So that, as we've talked about before, that gives the schools, both schools, the summer of next year to move into that new construction. So far, they're still on track to complete that. So we tend to keep that in their heads every month when we have our meeting. So they know that deadline. And the rain days that we're adding are kind of getting added to the back of the project. So they know that they got to finish that new building by June.
It's an impressive building, and they definitely in that 50-60% range. You pass by it, quite nice. I went Tuesday. I rode by. Pretty impressive. Thank you. Move on to B. If there's anyone else in the public, and B, consider a change order request for 8 additional days to the new Thibodeau Middle School contract due to inclement weather for the month of September 2022 and take appropriate action.
All right, so let's start with glass half full analogies. Less than we asked for last month. These 8 days for September Yeah, the 8 net days, most of that was at the beginning of the month. It rained 8 out of the first 10 days of September. And again, this is a contractual thing. The contractors are entitled to every day that it rains more than 1/10 of an inch. They submit their documentation. So the contract does have time built in, and so we're only asking for that net difference, which in this month is 8.
I wish he was here.
All right,
Hopefully he's
so,
watching on social
yeah,
media.
he might be watching. And we have a motion by Mr. Bootery, seconded by Ms. Bourgeois. Is there any public comment? Any board comment? If not, we'll vote.
Additional rain days will be Henry's legacy.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Positive.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
One to three, Goslin, Holloway, Cortez, we have Justin here on their behalf. A, to receive a report from Justin on the Phase 6 safety project. Let's pick up the floor.
Taking over for David this week. He's on vacation, so I'm going to go ahead and give you all the report on this one. Currently, the total contract percentage paid and pending is around 78%, so that's kind of where they are right now, and the percent of time elapsed is 83%. So they're pretty close to being on track here. There are some delays I'll talk about in a second. Going through these, we have the 3 sites, Bayou Blue Middle School, 6th Ward Middle School, and LaRose Cutoff Middle School, where we're doing the security upgrades. Starting at Bayou Blue Middle School, it's about 95% complete. Cabinetry is fully installed. Fencing and gates are 90% complete. We're still waiting on some hardware that's delayed, which is one of the items that is kind of delayed on all the projects. So I'll remove that on the other sites. Bullet-resistant windows frames have been installed. Frames have been painted along with the walls. I think they have the bullet-resistant glass. They're just waiting to install it when they have all the pieces in. Flooring is 100% complete. Exit devices and controls will be complete in November. HVAC is not complete. Delivery dates are still undetermined. So we're kind of noticing that throughout the whole industry. HVAC equipment's hard to get, long lead times, and that's kind of that's on all the project, all 3 sites. We have that issue right now. Sprinkler system modifications and HVAC modifications are complete, and cabling for door controls and access control gates is at 50%. 6th Ward is basically tracking along the same timeline as Bayou Blue. LaRose Cutoff Middle School, you'll see that that's 70% complete, which is a little bit less. And the reason for that is on that project we had the addition of some aluminum canopies, which was ordered, and they're waiting on that material to come in so they can start to install, to connect those 2 existing canopies on the east side of the site. And that is kind of where we are right now on the project.
Do you have any questions for Justin on P? Okay, thank you. We'll move on to P. Consider a change order request to demolish and rebuild canopy at LaRose Cutoff Middle School for a total amount of $74,521.
Right, to give an explanation about this, we originally part of the project, we were connecting those 2 canopies inside. During the construction, we were approached by the owner and asked if we could connect the 2-story classroom building at LaRose Cutoff Middle to the building number 4, and then continue that extension to that canopy we are connecting over here. And then that's just going to give a nice cohesive connection throughout the campus. Students can get from main building to the building number 4 without getting wet. We reviewed the cost, and it seemed in line with the work that the contractor was doing.
A motion by Mr. Swiss, seconded by Ms. Bourgeois. Is there any board discussion?
I guess my only question is, Justin stated that they were approached by the owner. Was that you? Okay. I wanted to make sure.
Go ahead.
The way that LaRose Cutoff Middle School is configured, there's a linear hallway that runs on side the administrative suite.
Well, I don't doubt that it's necessary. I just want to know who authorized.
So the kids were having to walk around 250 extra meters to stay out of the rain, as opposed to just cutting across to the other building. So on rainy days, in the beginning of the school year, every day was a rainy day. The kids were 5 and 6 minutes late to class, and it created a huge congestion problem. So this additional canopy, it adds another avenue of approach to that building that's much needed for the campus. That's why the changes.
Good question. Anyone else? Anyone from the public? Anyone from the public want to comment? If not, we'll vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. We want to see. Consider a change order request for security upgrade phase 6 for an additional $945 for cost of materials.
All right, so we have 4 items that are part of this change order. The first item is for the addition of paint and waterproofing material. Those products are typically purchased by the owner and supplied to the contractor. They are no longer on state contract, so y'all aren't able to purchase them at the discounted rate anymore, so we were redirected to have the contractor pay for those items. So that would be an add of $1,585. We have an additional cost of $75 to add some accent brick around the bullet-resistant reception window at 6th Ward Middle. We had to tear into an existing brick wall. The brick we thought we could salvage wasn't able to be salvaged, so the contractor was asking for a little bit of money to install accent brick. Deduct the value of 25 linear feet of concrete curb to avoid damaging roots. So we had a part of the security fencing ran across the tree line. We have a root system under a tree. We didn't want to damage those roots. So we had asked the contractor to deduct that. So that would be a deduct of $175, that amount of concrete curbing. Then we also have a credit back to the owner for the value of 600 square foot of VCT flooring, which we originally had in the project. But that's one of those products that school board's also able to purchase on state contract, and y'all ended up supplying it, and so we received the credit back for the value of the specified material that was in the project. So the net change would be a total add of $945.
Motion by Mr. Swift, second by Mr. Booter. Is there any public comment? Board comment?
Like the breakdown you gave us, it's easy to follow.
I can appreciate it. It's a small amount of money that, but I could genuinely appreciate it, that any amount of money that we could potentially save here and there and move money around, really appreciate it. Thank you. All right, if not, we'll go ahead and vote. Thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. 4, Jeremy and Bruce. Not there with you. Okay. 8. Okay. There is a report attached with it. So 8, to receive a report from Daniel Bruce, who's not here, on Part 1 HVAC renovations at Golden Meadow Lower Elementary School.
Yes, I mean, I can just share with you the delay is materials, just like Mr. Cortez was explaining, HVAC materials are on delay. So while we're about halfway through the time schedule, we're only 6% through the construction status because we're waiting on materials.
Is there any public comment? Board comment? Okay, we'll move on to 5. Castanoff, Goodwin, Utley. We have Mr. Robert Utley here. 8, to receive report on ADA modifications to the restrooms of the 3 high school stadiums.
Yes, the ADA stadium restrooms are substantially complete. They were doing punch list items. Y'all actually did have beneficial use of the facility last month. They did, although on the punch list was the installation of the permanent doors, contractor on their own money came out and put in temporary doors and lock systems, doorknobs and all, to be able to go ahead and get those closed up so that there would be ADA bathrooms for the public, for the schools. So we're really happy about that, but they are substantially complete. They're doing the punch list items at this point. We need to go back out and recheck their punch list items as soon as they tell us they are completed. And then that will be, that should wind us up on this job when we do that, and they'll be completely done out at this point. Any questions on this job?
Got it. I know they had quite a few small items that they had to go back and redo.
Yes, they did. They had a part that was an inch off and a couple other things. They had a grab bar because it was an inch off. It causes an issue with the standard distances on grab bars. So we're making sure that everything meets ADA, and the fire marshal's completely happy with all of that. So they are having to relocate a couple of things like that.
Very good. Mr. Archie?
Thank you. Natalie, so, it's safe for anyone that's able can access those restrooms at the stadium?
As of last month, they were able to use it. It was authorized by the fire marshal's office to use it. And we did have a gig on that toilet that was 1 inch off from the wall, and a handrail that was 1 inch off on a distance and on the wall, but that was just a lateral move of 1 inch. But they were usable by the public at last month. So they have, as I understand, they have been used.
This is wheelchair accessible.
They are. We have ADA slopes up to the threshold. Now this is the ADA restrooms. There's still a little bit of a thing going on at the. We didn't do ADA in the main bathroom groups. We did 2 separate ones on each the home and the visitor side. So those bathrooms were completed for beneficial use by the owner last month, which is the definition of being substantially complete. Although we did add all the permanent, they got in the permanent doors by the time we did the punch list, so we only added in the amount for the installation for the door. But they had some walls to smooth out and to repaint, and some other items. We had a punch list attached with that, so that's kind of where we're at on it.
Thank you. Anyone else? If not, move on to Pete. To receive a report on the third chiller replacement project at South Lafourche High School. Brother?
This project actually is substantially complete. They requested substantial completion yesterday. The chiller is installed, has been done startup a day or two ago. It started up, checked out, and it was everything checked out okay on it. So we still have the punch list to do on this one and the substantial completion forms on it, but this one actually also should be, the owner has beneficial use, it's running and is on the system at this time.
Questions? Questions on this item? Anyone from the public? Move on to C. To receive a report on condition outside air increase at Thibodeau Elementary School.
This one has a lot in common with your last, with Daniel Bruce's project, and the fact that we're waiting on, we're over time with it, but the reason why is because we've had excessive delays on it due to equipment, which is beyond the contractors. You can't help it. It's just the way things are, and so we'll come back to you about this when the equipment's delivered. We think it's, we haven't gotten a definitive date. They've given us kind of a preliminary thing, but they're trying to end it by the end of the year or sometime soon thereafter, if it gets delivered when it's supposed to be.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Thank you, Mr. Udley.
Thank you.
On to 6, All South, we have Mr. Bob Bernard here. 8, receive a report from All South Consulting on Hurricane Ida damages. Bernard.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. All right, permanent repairs under construction. We'll start with the roads cut off. Gym was completed, as we reported last time, so it's in full use. Looks really good. Roof is complete, all dried in, so that's good news at that facility. The roof work will resume later or beginning of next year, right? Waiting on materials to come in. Everything's expected to be in by the first of the year, with completion scheduled for around May 2023. At that time, we'll put out the bid for the interior permanent repairs. So probably maybe about that time, month before, we'll check it and then get the bids out and then start rolling into interior permanent repairs. Any questions on that facility? All right, South Lafourche. Auxiliary gym was completed beginning of this month. It's in use, so that's good news for that part of the facility. Volleyball and basketball, I believe, are both using that. I know volleyball for sure. I'm not sure about basketball because one little caveat to that one: the volleyball sleeves did not have the cover plates, didn't come in with the sleeves. So if you take the standards out, you have a hole in the floor until the covers come in. Those are expected in this week. So that'll be put in, and that gym will be 100% ready for basketball and volleyball. A roof deck replacement was completed. If y'all remember, that was a change order in the competition gym. That's been done. Roof is dried in. Painters are in there today or this week, starting on painting the roof deck on the underside. Floor prep work is ongoing, and that gym floor is scheduled for completion sometime in January. So good news for basketball season. Bleachers should be done by that time too, so they'll be able to start using that gym sometimes in mid to late January. Roof work scheduled to be completed by March. Again, that's based on roof material deliveries, but everything is pointing towards materials coming in on time, and that roof being finished by March. Similar to the roads cut off, we'll roll into the interior permanent repairs about that same time and start work on that. So those two projects are tracking as good as they can be. Any questions? All right. Stadium repairs. Press box will be finished November 14th. The superintendent said just in time for the end of football season. So, well, look, the bright side, we do have soccer coming, so, and band season, so they'll have a press box for that. But windows and siding was the long lead items and just an issue with material delivery. So, scoreboard is being taken down, the old one, this week. Foundation prep board, I think concrete on Monday of next week. And they're telling us they'll have the scoreboard ready for the last home game. So, something to cheer about. Any questions on the stadium? All right. Baseball fields. Notice to proceed was issued. Grand Isle Shipyard is doing the work at both South Lafourche and Central, which is good, as I know those guys are going to do whatever they have to do to get it done and ready for baseball season to start. Material has been procured. No real crazy long lead time, so we should have everything in time for baseball season to start next spring. One, I guess, caveat to that is the press boxes at Central and at South Lafourche will not be ready. That's a FEMA holdup. We have to get FEMA approval because they were substantially damaged or 50% damaged. So there's a process we have to go through with FEMA before they'll green light us actually starting any ground disturbing activity. It's just a process that takes time. So we're going to have to make temporary accommodations for concession and press box, and we'll work with the school and athletic department and try to figure something out for that. Whatever we do is FEMA reimbursable, so we'll just come up with something on a temporary basis. Don't expect to see this done anytime for baseball season. It's a long process, and we have to go through the time that it takes And then we'll start construction whenever we get that green light. I don't have a time frame right now. Yes, sir.
Question. Has this been cascaded out to the parents and?
I met with the parents of the Central Lafourche baseball team myself, and we expressed that the playing surface, fence, the lights, dugouts, that's all going to be there. What will not be there, bleachers, press box, and all of the accoutrements that go along with it. The kids are going to have a playing surface that's safe and that's able to be played on. Frustrating as it is, I think that everybody agreed the most important part was the kids have a safe. Absolutely.
Correct. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Mr. Martin, how about the South?
So I have not met with them. I did speak to Ms. Lagarde, and the reason why I had met with the Central Lafourche and not the South Lafourche is because frankly, the Central Lafourche parents were more concerned. South Lafourche seemed to be completely content. If you remember, South Lafourche already played games last year because temporary repairs had been made. Central Lafourche's field was not play ready and is not play ready today. So South Lafourche is in a different scenario because we feel confident their playing surface is going to be ready, as we already played games, in fact, playoff games last year. So that's the reason for the disparity.
Just checking.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Actually, so.
Yeah.
One clarification, bleachers should be in.
Oh, okay, good.
So, that they should, we can put bleachers in, so they should be in. Okay, stadiums and baseball, okay. Typical high, little different situation. We didn't have any demolition, no repairs, and, fencing, all of that will be done for start of baseball season. A little less work at Typical High School. IU Blue Building 7 demolition that started finally on Monday. We started taking the building down. So by the end of next week, we should have clean slab ready for construction. We were waiting on the notice to proceed for the contractor doing the permanent work until demolition started. So we'll be issuing that notice to proceed for the new building in days to come. By the way, they're doing most of their work in late evenings. So it's not a disruption to the students, faculty, whatever. So that's a plus too. That was something they did on their own. And then building 4 and 7 permanent repairs, we talked about that. Our temporary campus over Track Bay for Bayou Buff Elementary. We turned over the 4-classroom building on October 3rd. So that was a big plus for that facility. Air conditioning change outs in building 1, cafeteria and kitchen is scheduled. Well, it's ongoing now. It should be completed within the next 2 to 3 weeks. That should wrap up all the work at that campus, with one exception. We are waiting to get a price to demolish building 5. The 2-classroom building that's in pretty bad shape. So that would really clean that campus up once we get that last structure out. And that will be done on holidays or after hours. It'd be an issue. All right, the typical projects, they're all lumped together. This is a roof project for all of them. Pupil appraisal was already done. It's a 3-tab roof. They did that in 1 weekend, so that's one roof that's completed. We're meeting with the contractor and the designer on Friday at Typical High School. Go over coordination, material deliveries, schedule, etc. Again, interior work will come out later once we feel confident that the roofs are done. So we're looking sometime next year to put that out for bid. Go to middle lower Canopy. Everything's ready for the Canopy, which is scheduled for delivery in December. Lockport Middle, Raceland Middle, nothing much to report. Notice to proceed. Contractors starting on the front end, submittals, etc. North Rose, we have that approved by board, waiting on contract execution. It's in the hands of the contractor, waiting for that to be returned so we get the superintendent to sign it and get that notice to proceed going on North Rose. And that's a major one, right? We had a lot of damage on this one, so it's good we have this one out and get that back in order. Go to middle upper, same thing, waiting on contract. And South Rose Canopy was completed in September. Upcoming bids, actually 2 of those are going to move to the top because they bid on Monday, WS Lafourche and Tips and PLC. And then the only bid we have remaining for this year will be Lockport Upper. We had some scheduled for December, but we decided to table those until January. None of them are major, a lot of the minor projects. So just to give, I guess, contractors some room to breathe, get caught up at the end of the year, which is usually pretty hectic anyway, right? December is not a good time, so we're just going to table it, pick it back up on in January. All right, finally, major projects that are still under design. We're just going to touch on these real quickly. Any questions? Jump in. Go to middle. We talked about this already. This is a substantial determination process right now. We're trying to get that ironed out and working on cost options to get this facility back up and running. This is similar to what we're doing at Bayou Bow. Same thing. Long, drawn-out process, right? No time frames on either one of these two. This could take a year on the FEMA side before we finally release for design. Well, design is going to be happening, but for construction to start. So I'm not going to give you dates. I'm not going to give you dollar amounts yet, but just understand that this will be a long, drawn-out process. Any questions on these two? I think good news with both of these is that we have good temporary facilities that we're housing students in, right? So both of these campuses are viable where the kids are. So look, time that long is never good, but at least we have some place to put them, and it's better than what it could be. Raceland Upper, this is still on the radar. We're working with design on price. Superintendent had asked for this building to be looked at for improvement outside of FEMA reimbursement. This building is in pretty bad shape. Now, not structurally, I'll back off on that. We still need to do a structural evaluation, but the initial structural evaluation was not bad. After the storm, we had a engineer walk the building to look for obvious structural issues, right? And none were found. What we need to do next is do something more forensic with the building structure, primarily the floor joists on second and third floor. We know there's some sagging. We know there's some issues with rot. So we need to get in there, and superintendent is right. We need to make sure that the building is structurally sound before we put any money into it, right? Talking about facelift money. So we need to get in and literally look under and look at every joist supporting the floors on second and third floor. So we need someone like a building forensic guy that can go in and not do a whole lot of demolition, right? You don't want to tear up things. You have to understand this is an old building. We have suspended ceilings in here, which it does, but when you get above the suspended ceiling, you have Cinematch, like the old houses, solid Cinematch that hides, it doesn't enable you to see the joist. So we either have to pull that out so you can see it, or drill holes and get fiber optic cameras where you can video and take pictures, give that to the structural engineer where he can evaluate it. So that work has to be coordinated, has to be done after hours, right, or holidays. So there's a lot of work that has to be done to make sure the building can support what we want to do. And then from that point, we'll come with cost once we have it all determined and present that to the superintendent where you can present that to the board for approval. We also are trying to get FEMA mitigation money to kick in for certain parts of it. It won't cover it all. There's air conditioning work, flooring, painting, ceilings, a whole facelift that won't be FEMA reimbursed. There will be some dollars that the district will have to come up with to handle that cost. So that's Raceland Upper. Again, this is going to be a long process to get this done, from FEMA mitigation to design and development. Any questions on any of these? Okay. And then JRTC chair building, anticipated start summer next year. And St. Charles, That one we're gonna be ready to put out spring of 2023. That's gonna be for the hurricane repairs. Any questions?
If-
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard. All right, we'll move on to 7. New business. To receive report on bids received for campsite lease in section 16, township 19S, range 22E, Bayou Raphael, and take appropriate action.
Got it. So, recommended action to accept the bid of $550 annually from Rowdy Danos for a campsite lease on section 16 township 19S, range 22E, Bayou Raphael.
Motion by Ms. Bourgeois, seconded by Mr. Buda. Is there any board comment? Any public comment? If not, we'll vote. Motion carries. B, to receive report on bids received for campsite lease on section 16, township 19S, range 23, Kings Ridge, take appropriate action.
Recommended action is to accept the bid of $500 annually from KRHC LLC for a campsite lease on section 16, township 19S, range 23E, Kings Ridge.
Motion by Mr. West, seconded by Ms. Bourgeois. Any board discussion? Any public discussion? Not one vote. Motion carries unanimous. C, to receive bids on Hurricane Ida permanent repairs to W.S. Lafourche Elementary School.
Sir, recommended action is to accept the low bid from Freetown Builders LLC in the amount of $595,000 for Hurricane Ida permanent repairs to W.S. Lafourche Elementary School.
Superintendent?
What did I say?
$597,000.
$597,000.
Motion. Motion by Mr. Schwest, second by Ms. Bourgeois. Thank you. Any board discussion, Mr.
Just a
Bourgeois?
question, what was the budget for that project, do we know?
Let me look in the documents.
Oh, the architect's estimate?
Yeah.
So that one was very close within the 10%.
589.
589 was the architect's
Okay.
estimate.
The good news is, looking at the bids, there's 4 that are very competitive, so obviously pricing is coming to
Coming close.
closer. 4 bids within that range is definitely acceptable. Anyone else? The board member? Anyone from the public? Not, we'll go ahead and vote. Motion carried unanimous. E, receive bids for Hurricane Ida repairs for the Professional Learning Center and TIP Central.
Yes, sir. Recommended action to accept the low bid from Tosh LLC in the amount of $440,000 with an alternate number 1 in the amount of $40,000 for Hurricane Ida repairs for the Professional Learning Center and TIP Central.
Motion by Mr. West, seconded by Ms. Bourgeois. Any board discussion? Definitely the bids are a little bit spaced out on this one, but fairly lower bid, but. Okay. Okay. Anyone from the public? If not, we'll vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. E, receive bids for the vertical platform lift at Thibodeau Elementary School.
Recommended action to accept the low bid from Florey Contracting Group in the amount of $103,500 for the vertical lift at Thibodeau Elementary School.
Motion by Ms. Bourgeois, seconded by Mr. Swift, to change it up. Thank
I
you.
wanted to get it.
Any board discussion?
Is any of that, reimbursable to, special ed?
It does go to one MOE.
Okay. Anyone else from the board? Anyone from the public? Not, we'll vote. Motion carried unanimous. F, receive report from the accountant, Shasta Shasso, with reference to ongoing project budget. Yes.
Good afternoon. For our 2017 construction bond, we had 6 projects that we paid invoices for from September to October, totaling $680,857,000. And then for our construction bond 2021, we had 2 projects that we paid invoices from September through October, totaling $1,739,006.
Ms. Shasso, any questions, Ms. Shasso? Okay. There's no other business, so our meeting is adjourned.